Solid and hazardous waste. Waste is everyone's business. Even though we don't think about it every single day, we all produce unwanted byproducts in nearly everything that we do. According to the Environmental Protection Agency, the United States produces 11 billion tons of solid waste every year. That's roughly 3.6 tons per person. Think about that. You are producing 3.6 tons of waste every single year. Nearly half of that amount consists of agricultural waste, such as crop residues and animal manure, which are generally recycled into the soil and on farms where they are produced. Agricultural waste provides ground cover to reduce erosion, and they nourish new crops. But they are also the single largest source of non-point air pollution and water pollution in the country. Another 1/3 of all solid waste are mine tailings, overburden from strip mines, shelter slag, and other industrial waste from mining and metal processes. Much of this material is stored in or near its source of production. Improper disposal practices, however, can result in serious and widespread pollution. Industrial waste, other than mining and mineral production, amounts to some 400 million metric tons per year in the United States. Some of this material is recycled, converted to other forms, sent to landfills, or disposed of in injection wells, which should be deep enough not to interact with the usable groundwater. About 60 million metric tons of industrial waste fall into a special category of hazardous and toxic waste, which we'll discuss later. Municipal solid waste, or the garbage we produce in our houses, office, and cities, account for a small percentage of total waste by weight. You can see that from the graph there. Municipal solid waste is hard to reuse and recycle because it contains many different kinds of material. Yet it amounts to about 250 million metric tons per year in the U.S. That's just over 4.6 pounds per person per day, twice as much per capita as Europe or Japan, and 5 to 10 times as much as most developing countries. You produce 4.6 pounds of garbage per day on average. You're going to see how much you actually produce in our little experiment this week. Despite considerable progress in the past 20 years, we still only recycle about 30% of our glass bottles and jars, less than 50% of our aluminum drink cans, and less than 7% of our plastic food and beverage containers. We could save money, energy, land, and many other resources if we improved this rate of recycling. This week, we are going to look at the issues of solid and hazardous waste. Where do we put these things? What happens to the garbage once the garbage man picks it up from your driveway? You are also going to be doing an experiment to see how much and what type of garbage you produce on a weekly basis. In our country, we usually dispose of our solid waste using landfills, but there are other ways that countries deal with the waste that they produce. Open dumps are still very, very widely used, especially in developing countries, which an open dump is what it says it is. You're just dumping the garbage into a humongous pile. Mexico has one of the largest open dumps on the planet. Sanitary landfills, basically putting the garbage into the ground, is what we do. We use landfills. You can go up out past the mall and see our landfill area. And unfortunately, another way of getting rid of waste is exporting it to other countries, which is a horrible, horrible thing to do. Essentially, we take our hazardous waste and we ship it someplace else and have it become their problem. In general, about 54% of our waste is dumped into landfills, about 12% is incinerated or burned, about 8% is composted, and about 26% ends up being recycled. Dealing with our waste in an environmentally sustainable way is one of the biggest questions that our cities and counties have to deal with.